After this step, the next thing is to declare the country names. So we will focus on the country names now. So that is country names equals df of name, and we will take this attribute for the next thing. So we will take a looping structure as we are focusing on delivering the life expectancy rate with GNP. So these are the two attributes, life expectancy and GNP from the country data. So we will loop it, or we can say iterate it within our for loop. So it is for I in range of the specific length of the country names. So we will take that country names over here into picture, and then we will call for the try loop. So it is try country names of I, and there we will call for the string values. So it is string of the country names of I, and here we will decode our necessary values. So it is decode UTF-8. Then we will call for the next thing, that is to expect. So it is like in this particular condition, it will be taken as the exception. So it is expect for the country names of I will be taken over here. In that situation, if it is an error, it will throw an error like country name decode error. And once this particular thing is being done, we will start with our scatter configuration. Scatter configuration is very simple to understand. So that we will do now over here as trace1 equals scatter. This is a function which is used for scattering the plots, where I will mention that my x value will be nothing but from the data frame we are taking the value of GNP. So my x will represent the GNP, that is growth of the national progress, and then we have y values, that is y-axis, which will be representing the data frame value of life expectancy. And once this particular thing is being done, we will do the next picture is to give the text of, or we can say the title of the country name. So it is country name, which will be taken over here. Then comes the country names will be taken over here, and then after this particular country names, we will take the next scenario, that is to take the markers into the scatter plot. So my mode will be markers. After setting up the trace1, that is the first configuration of scatter plot, the next thing is we will set up the layout. So setting up layout is also very simple to understand. So it is layout, which equals the value of layout of the specific title, which represents the value, that is life expectancy versus GNP from my MySQL world database. And then we have the x-axis represented over here. So my x-axis will be x-axis of the specific type, which will be taken as log. And then we have the next value to be taken into picture, that is title as GNP. And after this, the next thing comes is the y-axis, which is equal to y-axis of this representative value, that is title. So I'll take up title again over here, title as life expectancy. Once this is set with the complete expectancy rate, we are ready to get set for our data values to be plotted. So for that, I'll just give the data over here as data, which will get all the referential data from trace 1, and then the next thing will be my figure, which is to be plotted. So my figure over here is figure of the data to be plotted, and then after that we have the layout which will be taken into picture. So I have layout over here, and we will plot all the necessary values over here, that is py.iplot with the figure value, file name to be taken, that is considered as world GNP. So my plotted title will be GNP versus the value in y-axis, that is life expectancy. Okay. Now let's run this particular code. Now as you can see, we are compiling the code, and after compilation it is expected that I will see a scatter plot with the GNP and the life expectancy rate over here only, like in the traditional data visualization and analytics manner. This is how it happens. But if you observe and if you see the time which it is taking, because it is taking all the values from the database, tracing it out and showing up the output, so the time taken over here is quite large. And you see over here, after a time being, I'm getting something like a value is trying to be set on the copy of a slice from the specific data frame. And if you check it out, the pandas are plotting some libraries and something over there. Some warnings are there which can be ignored. That's okay. But I can't see any plotting over here. Why? Because if you remember, we have shared a credential saying that this particular plot needs to be plotted of this user. So here it is given that you have successfully sent some data to your account on Plotly. You can view that particular value in your profile. So it's our task to go to our particular profile and check that if my scatter plot is generated or not. So basically this is my profile, and you can see about a minute ago I have created my so-called scatter plot, and I'm viewing it to have a look on the same. The scatter plot is more systematic now, which you can see that it is typically showing up that the life expectancy and GNP from MySQL World database is being plotted. If you check out over here in the data section, the X and Y values are given over there with the respective text which is actually needed for labeling. And this is how like each tab section shows up the value. So this is a JSON structure which is generated. If you need it in some other format like Python, accordingly the Python values will be generated with the Python script that is needed. And on the other hand, if you want it in some other language, say R, so accordingly the particular coding structure is generated over here. So which is like a plus point, like you can see any forking which is created or not and so on. And the plots can also will be like exported to some particular file or a CSV data or a particular image structure or the code structure and so on. So this was our first basic scatter plot, like we have plotted keeping life expectancy in the y-axis and GNP in x-axis. If you try to zoom in the structure, you can see that the values with the particular necessary label structure is created over here. So basically it is an advanced version of creating a scatter plot. But more like if the next focus is like I want to create the distinct labels, like this is a green color for Mexico, this is a green color like pink color for India and so on. which we will have a look in our next chapter. So in next chapter is all about the same data set which we will be using, but a more advanced scatter plot section will be created. So let's get started with the advanced scatter plot creation. Now we will be focusing more about creating the plotting structure for world GNP and life expectancy, as this is more about the advanced scatter plot in comparison with the basic data visualization which we saw in our previous example. So the first thing here, I will set the size. So that is size mode, I will set it as area, and then I will take the next parameter. So after area, which means that it will occupy the complete area. That is what I want to mention over here. So with the area, I will start with the next thing, that is the size reference. So these are the attributes. So inside this, I will set an array which will call for the respective parameters. So this is going to be my X and Y axis, say for example. So I want to set my population value, and the next thing which will come into picture is the max value. So it is like setting up the max value of population with the length multiplied by 2. So it is like I am setting up a specific reference of a legend to this advanced scatter plot section. That is what I want to say. So this was about the population stuff. The next thing which comes into picture is showing up the legends of markers. So that is also equally important. As we saw with country names and the markers and the list of colors which is needed, here we will also follow the same pattern. If you observe over here, we are getting some errors, but that is like because we have not defined this thing in the later section. So I'll just help you out with the resolution of these errors. So here it is like LE2 raised to 2. So that is the way I want to mention. Now let's get started with the set of colors which we will give for the countries. So say for example, even for the set of continents or countries, we can give colors. So for Asia, I would set up for a particular color with some RGB combination. This is solely your decision. You can take up any value which you want. So there is no restriction on this particular thing. So this was for Asia. I have set up a RGB combination of 255, 65 and 54. So in the similar way, I will do it for Europe, but obviously the color combination will be different. So for Europe, it will be, say for example, 133, and the next attribute will be 20, and after that we have 75, and then later we will take it for Africa. It is important to give the proper spellings because we are giving proper combinations. Here I'll set up the RGB combination as 0116 and 127. It's actually 217. So this set of combinations you can give. So if you observe in the similar way I did it for other continents. So we have 7 continents: Asia, Europe, North America, South America, Antarctica and Oceania, which is actually in the Arctic region. So I have given a various set of RGB combinations which is clearly visible in our screen. Now moving to the next purpose, it's about understanding, like we are going to apply this set of colors to our particular locations. So getting started with it, because it's more on the advanced scatter plot thing, we need to understand it thoroughly. Like how are we going to apply these colors to the particular continents. So that is done with the function which I am writing it now, which is called as make trace, which helps us to return a particular value from the country point of view. And here I will give a value with respect to the specific continent issue. So say for example, India is within Asia. So the RGB combination should be 255, 65 and 54. So that is we are going to apply over here in make trace. So here I will give a proper legend, that is my life expectancy is, as you can see, we need to follow these conventions. Percent S refers to some particular value. Again, I'll call for the same sentence, so I'll just copy paste it for better understanding and reduction of work. Here I'll give the statement as population. So we are setting up an advanced scatter plot with life expectancy versus population. Obviously, population will not be in years, it will be in some amount, that is million. So once this particular section is being printed, it becomes easier for us to understand that we are going to use the make trace kind of statement. So it is like we will call this function whenever we want to show up the life expectancy and population rate. So we will call this statement in that particular statement, or rather I can say the function when it is needed to be executed in that time period. So let's move on to the next chapter to analyze the output of advanced scatter plot. Now as you can see, we created one more function which is called as make trace. And here the major point of view over here is that it is returning the scattered value with the GNP rate, life expectancy and the continent which we took. So if you remember, we had these names gathered already together and the name of the continent was kept over here. Then we have mode as markers and text to be applied as make text with the particular axis that is mentioned over here. Now the next scenario is that we will be using the marker with the necessary color attributes which we declared over here, the list of colors and whatever it was needed. And for better understanding, I have taken the comment section which includes everything like what all information needs to be gathered. So we have initialized this object, data object, and we are setting up the population, the continent with the respective colors and showing up the results, and the results are defined inside the layout object. So this is the way we are going to do. So as a standard practice, it is always mentioned that we should compile this code or basically run this particular code, and for that we will go to the command prompt now. This is our command prompt and I am running up the code over here as Python data visualization.py. And on execution of this particular code, you can see that we will get the output as per our requirements. So our next procedure or the next step over here is that we should go to the particular Matplotlib user account. If you remember, we created a user account in our last chapter. So we will be following that over here and accordingly you will get the output as the way you want. Another point to be noted, it is taking quite a long time because it is compiling the entire code and presenting it in front of you. So that is why we need some set of values and some set of time which needs to be plotted and displayed on the screen. So keeping these notions in mind, we are following some set of requests which is to be followed. Okay, so this is how the data visualization procedure usually takes place. So let's wait for a while till the output is displayed. As you can see, the output was successful with no particular errors, and it is giving up that this particular graph is created, and it is mentioned over there that it was created few seconds ago. So as you can see, the x-axis corresponds to the gross national product and the life expectancy rate in years is considered in y-axis. If you hover, it displays the country name as per the function like make text. The country name, the life expectancy rate, population, and the colors keep on changing as per the continents. So as it is mentioned that Africa is for this particular color, Antarctica, Asia, Europe, North America. So for Antarctica, it is the white color. So as on the values are represented and the more amount of range shows a bigger bubble chart. So in this way, it shows an even better kind of an advanced scatter plot vision for the user. As you can see, this particular plot has even more depicted value in comparison to the previous one. If you remember, let's go to our dashboard again and our previous scatter plot, and we will compare both of them. So this will help us to show you that the previous one was just a mere scatter plot like any other plot in Matplotlib. But here we define the particular index values, the continent names, with the proper value of life expectancy and population. So this is going to be my GNP and this is my so-called life expectancy rate. So in this way, we have displayed a better kind of a advanced scattered plot. Now if you observe over here, the data have been generated as per the requirements, and the particular plot can be available in JSON format, in Python format if you want it, and also in the MATLAB format if you needed to show it up, and then comes R and so on. There is also a tab which corresponds for the forking history, which shows up the value as the way you need it. So this is a way we have plotted our scatter plot. Moving on to the next section, we will have few activities. So basically when I say activities, these questions are usually asked in the interview rounds when you go for the data scientist job opening or something. It's not only limited to data scientist job opening, it can be anything. So the first activity we will focus now is about the data analysis.